Teresa, Jeremy, Helen, Mariano, Duncan, and Judy. Hello. Sorry, I'm a bit late. Had a technical problem which is not fully resolved, but hopefully shouldn't create a problem for us. Yeah, welcome, Sri Animala. Maybe one of you will know what to do. The camera, I've got this Logitech camera thing, and it's got an adjustment, but I've kind of lost where to find the adjustments. Never mind, never mind. We'll get on with what we have. Yeah, welcome.
What are you trying to adjust, James?
Okay. The camera which I got physically perched on top of the monitor screen in front of me works off the Logitech system. I ought to have been frightened off initially, but by that, because when I touch technical things, they tend to go a little bit wrong. And on the Logitech system, when it works, it's wonderful because I can just press little buttons. I can adjust the camera, zoom in and out. But the Logitech button at the bottom that controls this whole thing, the button's there. But as I press it, nothing comes up on screen to, the control panel has just disappeared, even though the camera is working. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Now, let's just see if I can make it work now. You see, that's what I meant. It's come back now.
Yeah.
Amazing what happens if you turn it off and turn it back on again. Is that what happens when we get reborn, I wonder? Alas not, you still kind of take all your unresolved muck with you, don't you? Mariano, what do you tell people who are about to go on a journey which will result in them being reborn? Because you do that a lot, don't you?
Yeah, I talk to them about an analogy that we use in Buddhism, which is the ocean and the wave. And each wave has got an undercurrent of inclinations, attitudes, habits built up over many lifetimes. And so I tell them the wave is just a pattern. It is nothing solid about it. It is a manifestation of the ocean. Even the water does not belong to the wave. It belongs to the ocean, actually. Thoughts, sensations, feelings. And when the wave crashes back into the ocean at the end of a life, the energy which was powering it doesn't quite disappear because there is an undercurrent there. And in conjunction with everything else, it will throw up something else later on, but it might not work as you wish.
No, exactly. So I wish you'd been there last time I had a technical problem with equipment in my house, which was about half an hour ago. Goodness me. Good job none of you were there to hear the naughty words I was saying.
French for sure.
That's very lovely, Mariano. I like that. I want to book you for when I'm passing. I want you there talking to me.
Welcome, Oka. Right. So let us. Okay, I'll just start sharing screen now. Even that we sometimes have a bit of a palaver with, and sometimes it works well. Just readjust my gallery. Here we go. Okay, can you all see the iPad screen?
Yes.
Good, thank you. Now, let me just call up the Dhammapada. Oops. Ooh. I'm not going to say it. No. Not going to say it. Something funny is going on. And what's happened now? Why has this happened? Why is it doing this? Has it got a personal grudge against? Okay.
It's a teacher, James. It's teaching you patience.
Well, it's actually not. What I am controlling now doesn't feel like patience.
If you do
I
control,
mean, James, I
if you
wonder
do
if you've
control,
accidentally adjusted view, the type of view. It's gone to
Yeah, okay, so one of them is
view.
that. Is that the regular view? Text.
that looks like read view.
So
So
that's wrong. Then there's this view.
there should be at the top, I
Okay.
think there's an option of view.
You go to,
Okay, sorry. Here we are.
Yeah.
There was 3 different views. One was that kind of funny view. That's normal view, and that's
read view, I think. If you do control and scroll with your mouse, sometimes you have a bit more control over how quickly it increases or decreases in size.
Sorry, say again, Paladin?
If you hold down control and use the scroll on your mouse to go up and down, it sometimes gives you a bit more control than
Goodness me, I haven't tried that. I'll try it on my own afterwards, because if that goes wrong, I might disgrace myself in my choice of vocabulary.
They have swear words in Pali. Do we have a Pali swear word that you could use? I bet there was, but they won't have been written down.
No, we didn't find them in the suttas. Maybe the suttas are a little bit one-sided in the kind of speech they recorded. The Indians are just as capable as anyone else, a very colourful language. Anyway, look, let this not degenerate. If it's degenerated, I have to take the blame for it. Let us now elevate the tone back to the Dhammapada, the words of the Dhamma. So, if I remember correctly, we'd gone through the entire grammar and vocabulary and analysis of this text, and we were on to readings. You were, yes, and we had this entertaining Veneto, un toco, which is the same as the regular Italian un poco. I did actually look up a little bit more of this tocam, which means a little bit. The best evidence that I can find is that it seems to be a corruption of the root stew, meaning to drip. So it means like drip by drip, little bit by little bit, droplet by droplet. But it's quite a rare word, and I don't think I've come across it in Sanskrit or Pali in my regular reading apart from here. So was there anybody who did not have the opportunity to recite either this or the parallel next verse last time round, and who would like to have a go? Let me just read it through slowly once, and anyone who wants to have a go after that, you're very welcome. So, Mava manyeta papassa namantam agamissati uda binduni patena uda kumbhopi purati balu purati papassa tokampi achinam. Maybe one of the most interesting words here is mavamanyeta, and I've described to you this avamanyana, literally down-minding. putting yourself down. Atma avamanyana in Sanskrit. Atma avamanyana, self-down minding, putting yourself down in your own mind. And here it means underestimating yourself. Here, of course, it means underestimating the power of papa, the power of evil. So if there are nobody putting the hand up to recite, and then we can leave this verse and then pass on to the Mangala Sutta.
I just wanted to say I finally found out where it was coming from, the melody. You remember the melody that I use when I chant something?
Oh, yes, that's right.
Yeah, so you remember Mata, 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 Jagam Mata, blah, blah, blah. Pragnya Devi Namostute.
Padma Devi Namostute. Ah, right. Okay. So is that a Mahayana chant?
Rather than Tara, it is the Pragnya Paramita. Yes.
Okay, right.
It comes from the Sanskrit chanting.
Namostute. Okay, you've given us Namostute. Can you kind of parse and analyze Namostute?
So it is, for sure, it is Namaha.
Yes.
I bow. And then because of Sandhi, it become Namastute. It becomes Te. It is for I bow to you. Asti, nah. Why would Asti be there? No. It is just that, yes, it comes from the age that changes during the Sandhi.
Not quite. You started off well, Mariano.
Maybe someone else wants to finish it off.
Okay. Now the Namostute, the s there is not a variation of the Visarga. It belongs to the next word, astu.
Astu.
So
okay.
What
But astu would be be.
Yeah, so Namostute. We all know the Hindu greeting Namaste.
Yeah.
Okay, now here Pali and Sanskrit are very, very close. We have this our root nam, meaning to bow, and by extension to do reverence. We have a verbal noun from it, which is namas, right? That's the one that in Pali is always namo, the namo tassa bhagavato, and so on. It's always namo in Pali. In Sanskrit, it is namas, but sometimes by Sandhi it becomes namo in the appropriate circumstance. Now, asti, that's the one meaning it is or there is. That's the one that's in Pali becomes by regular phonetic mutation atti. How do you make a third person singular or plural imperative?
With the
So Mariano, yeah. Oh, you muted. Mariano.
Yeah, with the you replace. Yeah.
So asti, and remember that this rule works for Pali as well. So I'm just giving you a bit of Sanskrit as well. This rule works equally well in Pali. So asti is the indicative statement of fact. It is. It also means that there is. You can make an imperative, astu, may there be. And we have the blessing, for example, that in my particular Sangha, we often chant at the end of a meeting, Bhavatu Sabba Mangalang Rakhantu Sabba Devata. So Bhavatu Sabba Mangalam, may all blessings be, may they be. So this is now looking at Pali. Well, this word is equally Sanskrit and Pali. Bhavati, broadly the same meaning as asti. May it be, or may there be, bhavatu. So that accounts for the bhavatu, sabbamangalam, may all blessings be. And then rakantu sabbadevata, may all the deities, may they protect. If you said rakanti sabbadevata, that would be the ordinary indicative, rakanti Sabbadevata, all of the devas are giving protection, but if you change that to Rakantu, that means may they give protection. So Bhavatu Sabbamangalang, may all blessing be. Rakantu Sabbadevata, may all blessing, may all deities protect. So here we've got in Sanskrit, Namas Astu te, may it be to you. So namas or namaha astu te in Sanskrit, reverence may it be to you. May reverence be given to thee. And what happens by regular santi, the asu ah followed by the initial a in the next word just becomes o. That's why we get namostute. Namah astute becomes by regular santi namostute. But this rule whereby the imperative form can be made by changing ti or anti to tu or antu, they say it's operates completely regularly across, I think every single, I haven't come across a verb that I recall that doesn't obey this rule, and it's so simple. Just change the final e to u. By the way, this only works in the third person, but he, she, it, and they. And you very, very frequently find it in kind of prayers, offering blessings, and the one Mariano has just cited, namostute. The tu there is the giveaway, that it's the imperative form.
James,
Simon, yes.
can you do that in Pali? What would you do with atti if you wanted the imperative? Like,
okay, in theory you can have attu. In theory you can have attu, but I'm not sure that I've seen it used in practice. In practice, you would, for the imperative, you would use bhavatu. As we say in the, I'm sure you know that blessing that we often chant at the end of a meeting, bhavatu sabbamangalam. Now, I wonder if attu. I'm going to check that. I'm just going to check out whether it's used in practice. We very commonly see bhavatu. Whether we actually see attu, I'm not quite sure. If you said it, nobody would say it was wrong. I think it's just far more common to use the bhavatu form. But let me I'm going to check and report back to you next time whether it's in fact used.
I mean, you can say hotu, can't you? Because there's and hontu.
You can say hotu and hontu. Those, in fact, these are lenited forms, softened forms from bhavati, rather than atti. So bhavatu and hotu effectively mean the same thing. Notice that the abbreviated or lenited form hotu, huntu, huti, hunti are not used in Sanskrit. That's particular to Pali. It's a kind of a colloquialized shortening of the fuller form bhavati hoti. But you're right, hotu is very common in Pali. We'll talk about one other thing I was going to check for you. We'll talk about it was a point that you raised, Mariano, about various and whether it was anything to do with vara. No, it comes from a separate Indo-European root, just wa, meaning separate from, but it's got hardly any etymons in the other languages. It's only got 3 or 4 lines in Pakorni. But anyway, so good try, but it comes from a different word, different root. Okay, so before we pass on to the Mangala Sutta, then, are there any further comments or queries arising out of this one? Just well, here we are.
In Bhagavad Gita,
Srinimala were having difficulty hearing your sound. It's kind of coming and going, very, very broken.
yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, we've lost your sound, Srinimala. What we'll
So
do
I was telling in the Bhagavad Gita, we get Namastute.
So Namastute.
Yeah, we have a chant Namastute Vyasa Vichala Buddhe Pilala Vidya.
So you're coming through very broken. Srinimala, can you give me the
first chant in your start?
can you give me the chapter and verse, and then I'll check that out and
Maybe my internet is not. So yeah.
okay. Can you just give me the chapter and verse?
Okay, sir. Yeah.
And then I'll check that out, because Namastute doesn't sound right. I mean, Namostute is correct in Sanskrit, but Namastute doesn't sound quite right. Anyway, when you've got your internet back, if properly, if you can give me a chapter and verse, I'll
Yeah, okay, I'll do it.
I'll check that out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Right. So finally, then, any more on this? And if not, then we can move on to the Mangala Sutta. Sorry, I'm pressing wrong buttons here. Okay, here we are. So Mangala Sutta, verse 3. So just enlarge it. Asevana cha balanam panditanam cha sevana puja cha pujaniyanam etam mangalamuttamam. So this is grammatically quite simple. Asevana cha balanam. There's some root sev there. I've done a note on it. You see it very frequently. And it means the old meaning was to dwell or to remain in a place. That was the old root meaning. And then by extension, it meant it took on slightly different meanings depending whether the object of the verb was a person or a thing. If the object of the verb was a thing, then that it took on the meaning of following it, making a practice of it, making a habit of it, indulging in it, that kind of meaning. If the object of the verb is a person, that means that can vary between just hanging out with people, having their company, keeping their company, but it often has a certain idea of respect about it. You attend upon somebody with respect. And from that you have also a verb, the verbal noun seva, which means attending upon somebody, and also by extension service. So from the root sev, this is one of those verbs that can make a verbal noun in ana, like vid, vedana, passati, passana, as in vipassana, is that ana verbal noun ending. So basically not consort, the non-sevana, non-consorting with fools, not keeping the company of fools. I think it means fools here in a spiritual sense.
It's interesting, we have the same range of meanings in English, don't we, for the word attend? It can mean just paying attention to, being present, or kind of giving service to all at once. Any of those?
That's right. Yeah, because it does have that meaning of being ready to serve, and even in military terms, if you're standing to attention, that's your ready for orders. I suppose the sergeant major could say one of two things: attention or uniso manasi karota. Pay good attention, pay attention well, mark well.
Why the genitive for balana?
Because it's the sevana of fools. Keeping the company of fools. You often find that a verbal noun will have a genitive of the object. So he keeps the company of fools would be bale sevati. So the verb sevati, to keep the company of, and then when you'd have the accusative there, accusative plural, bale. But where you have a verbal noun, the non-doing, we do it in English. The non-do, the doing of something, but followed by a possessive or a genitive in English, and it's exactly that same phenomenon that we see in Pali, and it works in Sanskrit as well. And here we see it again. Panditanam cha sevana. So asevana, not keeping their company. And here the cha normally means and, here it has the meaning of but. Not keeping the company of fools, but keeping the company of wise people. Often there's this kind of rather overlap between and but, without a strict division between them.
James?
Simon?
Could it also possibly be the dative, in the sense that if it's resorting to, or like going to people, like originally it was going to stay with somebody, that you're going from where you are and kind of hanging out with these people originally, so the dative. And the other point, it just occurred to me, the Stevana as a noun, when you say like waiting on or attending to, so is that similar to like upattanang that you see when you kind of go up to and stand by, you kind of you wait on someone or attend on their needs? That's often said when people join a sect or another group, isn't it?
That's right, yeah. There's certainly an overlap between Upatana and Sevana. In fact, a few verses down in the Mangala Sutta. What was it in the verse? Is it all in the verse we've just done? Maybe no. It's a few verses down. I think maybe even in verse 6 or 7. Is it? Here we are, verse 6. You're right. Mata pitu upattanam. So there's certainly an overlap of meaning there. So upattana, as in standing near, waiting in attendance upon someone. So you are right there on the overlap between those words. Sevana, I think, is the more common one. Sevana means more generally hanging out with somebody, being with somebody, with the subtext of respectful attendance upon them. Upatana is much more directly kind of serving their needs. So there is at the edge of the wider semantic range of sevana, there's the overlap with upatana.
And could it be the dative then that it's taking, or is it definitely the genitive?
I have inwardly recoiled against your interpretation of it as a dative. I think there were the two initial reasons for the inward recoiling were, well, three really. First, if I were thinking of this in Sanskrit, I'd immediately go for the genitive. The other reason was a real moment was because in English, you mentioned one of the English renderings of it would be resorting to. Well, because in this form you resort to something, because in English we happen to use the preposition to. Oh, that's a dative. Therefore, that's again that is michaditi. That is, you fall into michaditi there, Simon. Most uncharacteristically for you, and also moving towards something. Remember, motion towards in Pali and Sanskrit is going to give us an accusative, not a dative. The dative is much more used in giving to rather than moving to. So you will almost always find if it's a motion towards or for the purpose of doing something. The Buddha taught, loka hitaya, loka sukhaya, for the. But here, no, I would. For all of those various reasons, I shy away from interpreting that as a dative.
Your inner recoiling. I remember to recoil is saminjati.
Saminjati, pull back in, as a strong man might know. Pasareti saminjati. Yes. Mariano, please.
Yeah, can I ask? Here we got Bharanang after Asivanacha, whereas the following part is actually the other way around. Could it not have been Balanamcha Sevana Panditancha Sevana?
It could, yes, it could.
Why is there any reason why it is put that way? I mean, does the rhythm change, or it doesn't seem to?
Okay, well, the rhythm changes slightly because if you put balanam first, the balanam with the opening the opening long vowel, and here we've got asevana, which is a short vowel. Let me just try it. Balanancha asevana, balancha asev. I think you wanted to avoid that. Sevana cha panditanam. No, panditanam cha sevana. Maybe it just flows better. There's no right or this is poetry. It's purely a matter of the poet's feel for it. As we know, in ordinary prose, the genitive usually comes first. So the attending of wise men, the panditanam cha sevana, genitive first, and then the thing possessed. So a sevana cha balanam reverses the normal order of how it would be in prose. If this had been written in pure prose, not in poetry, then I would have expected to see balanam asevana, panditanam cha asevana. Sorry, the other way around.
Yeah, but and also,
Balanam asevana, panditanam cha sevana would be the normal prose order, genitive first.
and also the cha. There would have been just one in the middle, or maybe one in the middle and then one at the end. The cha too here seems to be not quite in the expected place.
Sevanacha balanam panditanam. You remember it's a little bit fluid in Pali. Remember this
Yeah,
this sutta, it's full of the I think you get more and more as we go along. This
I would have thought, normally it would be balanam sevanacha panditan sevanacha, or just a cha in the middle between the two.
pujana, look, pujacha, pujan. Okay, look at pujacha pujaniyanam.
Yeah.
This could equally grammatically correctly have been puja pujaniyanam cha. It could equally correctly have been that. You've got a lot of fluidity in where that cha goes.
Okay.
So look here, for example. Here in the first pada, we have the cha following the asevana. In the second pada, we've got the cha following the panditanam.
Yeah.
Now, which is correct? The answer is they're both equally correct. And sometimes for metri causa, for the sake of the meter, it is put in wherever it best fits. It doesn't actually make any difference. The answer is with the fluidity of word order. It certainly doesn't make any difference to the meaning.
Yeah.
So we could say it Sevana Balanam Panditanam Sevanacha, equally correct. Just as in English, you can put in a series of ands. If you do a list of things, you can put an and in between each one. It sounds a bit heavy and clumsy to do that in English, but it doesn't sound heavy and clumsy.
So in that case, I suppose it would be just an and rather than a but, or it is just doing this and doing that. And that deliver the goodies anyway, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly so. And often in English, you see people when they can't quite work out what their next word is, but they want to keep talking, and they want to stop the next person starting. They will say and I mean, you see, and this poetry hasn't quite descended to that level, but there is a certain fluidity in the use of these words. And those of you who know Latin, of course, this cha is exactly cognate with the Latin que, which is used as an enclitic. For example, we have SPQR, Senatus Populusque Romani, the Roman Senate and people. It could have been correctly senatus et populus Romani. It could equally have been that. So Latin, you have the choice. You can put et in front of a word or que after a word, but with exactly the same meaning. And this Pali, identical in Sanskrit and Pali, this cha is used in exactly the same way as the Latin que, meaning and, but put at the end of a word. So you can never begin a sentence or a word group with cha. Just as in Latin, you can never begin a sentence or a word group with que. It has to be an enclitic. Puja means reverence, but it always has this meaning of a reverential offering. For example, among the Buddhist and Hindu ceremonies, where you do a puja, there's always a symbolic offering being made. If you look at this pujaniyanam, means those worthy of puja. So this is the same aniya as in karaniya matta kusalena. It could equally have been pujitabba, pujaniya, pujitabba, there wouldn't have been any difference of meaning. So this should be fairly simple to understand, this one. Asevana cha balanam panditanam cha sevana puja cha pujaniyanam etam mangalam uttamam. A note on the anuswara here, you'll see the subdotted M there and the subdotted M there. You would not find that in Sanskrit. You've got the two padas, you've got a full line here ending in sevana and a full line here ending in uttamam. If this were in Sanskrit, I haven't done the Devanagari script on this one. If this were in Sanskrit, you would not have the anuswara M. That would be a full consonantal N. It would be pujaniyanametam, pujaniyanametam, blah, 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 in Sanskrit. In Pali, for the sake of the meter, you can have an anuswara M, and it would be a long syllable. Pujaniyanam etam, pujaniyanam etam mangalamuttamam. As opposed to here, where it's done in the same way as Sanskrit, mangalamuttamam. In poetic meter, it could have been written as mangalang uttamam, but here it's not done mangalamuttamam. So, are we ready for a recitation of it? Yes, Simon.
Could I just ask first about the future passive with the different forms like iya and tabba, etc. It's got kind of two separate meanings. There's to be done, so something that will be done in the future. And then there's also the sense of that which is worthy, that which one should do.
Yes.
Is that reflected in the form, or is it just random?
No, it's not reflected in the form. So we can have, let me give you an example. That's a very valid question here. Also remember that, Simon has observed, it can mean something has to be done, or is somebody, it might be pujaniya, worthy of respect. We have the same slight distinction of meaning in Actually, let's look at two Latin in Latin as come into English from the Latin verb agere, meaning to do, from which we have the agere, egi, actum, which we have the word action. So agere means to do. We have the things needing to be done are in Latin agenda, with that's the neuter plural, agenda, which in modern English we have as agenda. So agenda is actually a neuter plural word. So agenda, things requiring to be done. So the agenda for the meeting, things you've got to get through at that meeting. And then there's a kind of imperative sense to it, got to be done, as in karaniyam, got to be done. This is what you ought to do. Now let's look at another word in English, a name from the verb amare, to love. We've got Amanda, which is the grammatically the same form. Amanda in this case is feminine singular. So Amanda is, you've got to love her. No, Amanda is kind of lovable, worthy of love. And also we have this fluidity of meaning in English, where somebody is lovable, like worthy of love, Amanda. But on the other hand, and also if something is doable, it means it can be done. We've got this range of meaning. However, when you receive a piece of paper in the post that says on it, this invoice is payable within 30 days, that has much more the sense that sounds a little bit like a demand, doesn't it? No, it's capable of being paid within 30 days. Okay, jolly good. Doesn't mean I have to pay it. He's just saying it's capable of being paid. I haven't ever seen that argument tried out in court, where I think everyone would agree that payable in this circumstance means a demand for payment. So we've got this kind of range of meaning, even in the Latin and the equivalent in English.
Mutanda is another one that comes to mind.
I'm sorry, say again?
Mutanda.
Mutanda, yes.
Mutanda, yeah.
Yes.
You need to change them.
The need is mutatis mutandis, the things that need, with the changes made to the things that needed to be changed. And we have the addenda et corrigenda, or as we say in English, addenda et corrigenda, in the old-fashioned books. Oh, sorry, I'm teaching, Andreas. I'll call you back. So addenda, things that need to be added, corrigenda, or in English corrigenda, things that need to be corrected. So let me just go back to Simon's point. So it was right. Lost me iPad. Come on, iPad. There we are. We have the root kri. And we have kartavya, which in Pali is kattaba, same word. That's with this tavya ending. By the way, the avya bit, which becomes abba in Pali, is the one that turns up in Latin as abilis, and in English able, meaning doable, edible, correctable, drivable. It's that same. The able from the Latin abilis is that same as the same as the avia, which has lost the T in Latin. It's that same ending. So that's one of them. Another one is just oops. Another one is just adding a ya to the root. So, for example, we've got, and here with vridya, the root, so from karya. again, the meaning that there's no distinction of meaning. We have also the
sorry, James, is Karya just Sanskrit, or is it?
Sorry?
Is the Karya just in Sanskrit, or is that in Pali as well?
Karya, it's what is it? Is it Karya? Karya? Do we have it? Is it? I think it's Karya in Pali. But let me just double check that point. I ought to know this by heart. Come on. Brace up, Whelan. You ought to know this by heart. Using things. Here we are.
Isn't it also?
Sorry, no, sorry. I've misled you. It's Karya. So Sanskrit Karya, the Pali has Karya. Let me just call this up. So sometimes it's just this one document does it to me. It comes up as a quarter screen. There we are.
Is that the one that also reverses and you can have Kayira?
There is a Kayira with metathesis of the R and the Y, but that's actually the optative form. In Sanskrit, kuryat, let one do. That becomes Kayira in Pali. So we have the Karya, which has the generative, causative of the, sorry, from the causative there. Oops. Sorry, I've messed that one up. Anyway, we've got the Karya, which is Karya in Pali, or Karaniya, and Kartavya Sanskrit, Kartabba. Most verbs, I think it's right to say that most verbs can take them all fairly indiscriminately. But the most important thing to know, to get back to Simon's question, is that there is no observable distinction of meaning at all. So, for example, if you look at the quote I gave here, this is from the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. Dvementa bhikkhave na sevitabba. These two extremes of monks are not to be pursued, followed, engaged in. It could equally have been written as sevaniya, without any distinction of meaning. And tabba is the most common form, but then emphasize the point that you can't distinguish between. Yeah, welcome, Madeline. You can't distinguish between the meaning of one and the other.
I'm sorry if I came. I'm all confused with the time lag. I don't want to make a mistake. According to my research, it should be in Montreal time 9:45. So I wanted to check one hour earlier. That's why I came here. But I think I'm going to leave and come back in 1 hour.
Yeah, on your side of the Atlantic, Madeline, you put your clocks forward.
Yes.
Before we do. You went back just, was it last weekend?
Yes.
Okay.
No, it's yes, it's this weekend. Yes.
Okay,
yes,
right.
last weekend.
So what happened is that for a short period of time, the time distance between us
Yeah.
is shortened by 1 hour. And
Yes.
it's on the last Sunday in March
Yes.
that in Europe
Yeah.
we put our clocks
Yeah.
forward. So
Yeah.
yes, so you've turned up an hour. If you came for the Sanskrit, you have turned up an hour early.
Yes. Okay, I'll come back. Thank you. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Not at all. Don't worry at all, Madeleine. Lovely to see you.
I didn't want to miss the lesson. That's why I wanted to check after the computer, you know. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
right.
Thank
Okay then,
you.
Madeleine.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. So, shall we have a recitation of it then? Judith, you are first on my gallery.
Yes. Asavanacha Balanam Panditanam Cha Sevana Puja Cha Pujaniyanam Etam Mangalam Uttamam.
Right. Okay, but look at this first word. Give a full long a value, asevana, da dum, asevana.
Asavana.
So asevana chabalanam.
Asavana Chabalanam.
Balanam.
Balanam.
Okay,
Sorry,
that's right.
Right
And then panditanam chasevana.
Panditanam Cha Sevana.
Okay, right. Remember, never be shy of and here we'd want to normal English phonetics. We'd want to be looking at this word as a savannah, as how it started coming out with you. But remember, sevana. Okay, thank you, Judith. We're round to you, Simon.
Asevana cha balanam panditanam cha sevana puja cha pujaniyanam etam mangalamuttamam.
Okay, very good. By this word pandita, this is one of those words that has a slightly different meaning between Sanskrit and Pali. As best I've been able to detect, in Sanskrit it has more the meaning of learned in the sense of book learning, whereas with that word as used in the Buddhist literature has more the meaning of wisdom rather than book learning. Book learning may be involved, but the emphasis is more on wisdom and moral wisdom, philosophical wisdom in Pali, rather than just being simply learned, which is more the meaning in Sanskrit. So round to you, Jeremy.
Yeah. Asevana cha balanam panditanan cha sevana puja cha niyanam etam mangalam uttamam.
Yeah, have you chanted that in some other context?
No, that was involuntary. If it had overtones of chanting.
Yes, because we often chanted in Manchester, where the Asevana Chabalanang Panditanang Chasevana Puja Chapujaniyanang Etam Mangalamuttamang. Actually, these longs and shorts are much easier to do when you're chanting. The trick is to get them equally right when you're reciting it in ordinary prose. So yeah, thank you, Jeremy. So Holden, we're round to you.
Asavana cha balanam panditanam chasevana puja cha pujaniyanam etam mangalam uttamam.
Can you just say this? Say this the last pada again.
Etam mangalam uttamam.
Right, I'm being a bit finicky here. I detected a very slight pause, as if you were almost putting mangalam uttamam, but it would be recited flowing mangalamuttamam, almost as if this word ended in a mu. So mangalamuttamam. Mangalamuttama. Okay, goodbye then. Goodbye, Mariano. Bye.
Yeah, I think I was probably putting I was thinking what's it called? Is it Anaswara? I'm rubbish on the technical terms of things.
Yeah,
Sub
it's
dotted M.
it's not there's no anuswara there.
No,
So
I know,
it's
but
just
I was sort of reading it as though there was, I think.
okay.
In
So
my head.
Mangalamuttamang.
Etam Mangalamuttamam.
Right. Okay, thank you. Judy, we're round to you.
Asevana Chabalanang Panditanang Cha Sevana Puja Cha Pujaniyanam Etamangalamuttamang.
Okay, can you just look at this father here? Puja cha pujaniyanam. Puja cha pujaniyanam.
Puja Cha Pujaniyanam.
Right. But also this cha.
Cha.
You want to be careful, although it's standing on its own. But remember, a word standing on its own in Pali and Sanskrit can have just one very short vowel. So it's pronounced as a short cha. Puja cha pujaniyanam.
Puja Cha Pujaniyanam.
Right, and it never it's never stressed. It's always it's always pronounced as if it's part of the preceding word.
Okay.
Pujacha, pujaniyanam.
Like fish and chips.
Pujaniyanam.
Like fish and chips, did you say?
Yeah, you don't say fish and chips, you go fish and chips.
Puja Cha.
That is a very nice analogy. Yes. Yeah. Thank you for that one, Paul. Yeah, that is a very good analogy indeed. So unstressed does it become in English that people will often write fish apostrophe n apostrophe chips, which would be like a valid attempt at a good attempt at representing how we actually say it. But just remember. Never stress it, never make it heavy. Asevana cha balanam, asevana cha balanam. Okay, so Jude, thank you. No, Shri Animala, I hope you've got your sound back. Let's check.
Is it okay?
Yeah, that's good now. That's good.
Yeah. Asevana cha balanam panditanam cha sevana. Puja cha pujaniyanam etam mangalamuttamam.
Now, thank you very much, Shri Animala. I'm going to ask you to do that again, and the reason is this. Some of you have been overstressing the cha. Now, the way that Shri Animala did it, because it's natural within her own native speech and her own experience of chanting in Pali, you heard that correctly done there with a kind of unstressed, very short asevana chabalanam. So I'm going to ask you to recite the verse again, Shri Animala, and you all listen. Wait for a moment. Listen to it all, but listen particularly how Shri Animala naturally does this very short, unstressed cha. Okay, please go ahead again.
Asevana cha balanam panditanam cha sevana. Puja cha pujaniyanam etam mangalamuttamam.
Wonderful. If you do it like Shri Animala, that's the best way of doing it. Very short, unstressed cha. Thank you, Shri Animala.
Thank you.
You've got Teresa, your turn. You've got an act to follow there.
Asevana cha balanam. Okay.
Asevana chabalanam. Asevana chabalanam.
Asevana chabalanam.
Yes.
Panditanang cha sevana. Pujacha pujani yanam. Etam mangalam uttamam.
I think the slight problem there is, that was better than first try. The slight problem is that when you're pausing over the words, if you put puja cha, and then you just pause because you want to get the pujaniyanam right. If you pause on that cha, there's this tendency to draw out the vowel. Puja cha pujaniyanam. But try to avoid that tendency and do it just as Shri Animala. did. Puja cha pujaniyanam. Could you just do
Puja cha pujan.
that? Was good. That was good. Yes. Do it again, Teresa.
Puja cha pujaniyanam.
Again, that came out just. I want you to shorten that Cha.
Puja cha. Puja
Pu-
cha.
we shorten one of them. Puja cha.
Puja cha.
Is puja cha.
Puja cha.
That's much
Puja.
better. That's it. Yeah. Excellent. And finally, we're round to you, Sanyu. So would you like to do us a recitation of this?
Asevana cha balanam, panditanam cha sevana, puja cha pujaniyanam, etam manglam motamam.
Right. I just want you to concentrate a little more on the vowel length there. Puja cha pujaniyanam. Sepise puja cha pujaniyanam.
Pujaniyanam, puja cha pujaniyanam,
Pujaniyanam.
niyanam.
Right. In Burmese, do you have a distinction between a short and a long ah?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
So pujaniyanam.
Puja cha pujaniyanam.
Yeah. But remember, emphasize that pujaniyanam.
Niyanam.
Okay. I think there's a certain reluctance to make that long enough. I'm thinking in particular here. Pujaniyanam.
Niyanam.
In Burmese, do you use the word puja?
Yes, we instead of puja, we pronounce a puza. It's Z sound.
Okay, so but pronounce it as you would say it in ordinary Burmese, colloquial Burmese.
Yes, this verse in Burmese.
Sorry,
verse, yes.
Even just this word, puja.
Puza sa puza neyana.
Puja.
Puza sa puza neyana.
Okay, so you change the sounds quite a bit in Burmese.
And then we don't, how to say, for the nasal sounds, and we don't, how to say, we don't pronounce as M or N sound. This is just So puja cha puja.
Okay, so it's like a I've got it. So like a nasalized vowel.
Yes.
So pujaniyana.
Yes.
Okay, right. So a bit like the nasalized vowel in French, for example. And then, so how would you say this word uttamam?
With the M, we say
With this
Mangala Motama.
Okay, right, yeah. So okay, so it's distinctly there, but pronounced slightly differently, although we still hear it pronounced slightly differently in Burmese.
Of course, yes.
Okay, right, very good. So we could actually, we've got a few minutes left, we could move on to verse 4 of this. Rather than go back to the Dhammapada, move on to verse 4, because this is much simpler than Dhammapada. So we can move on, unless there are any comments or queries on this. Okay. So Pratirupade Pubbecha Katapunyata Attasamma Pranidhicha Etam Mangalamuttamam. So Vaso, it's from the root vas, meaning to dwell. Call up iPad. Come on, iPad. So vas, meaning to dwell. and it makes a verbal noun vasa, a dwelling, a living. Incidentally, by a quirk of etymology, we have our English verb to be, and be is cognate with the root bu, be. We have in Sanskrit asti, in Pali ati, which is cognate with our is. Our past tense was is actually directly cognate. It's from the same root vas. So our word was, we treat it, which is in modern English, the past tense of to be. But it meant dwelt or existed, was living. That was the ancient meaning of it. So this vasa, to dwell, it's often used with a ni in front of it, dwelling in, nivasa. And without, in this sense, much change of meaning that I can see. Somebody is dwelling in a certain place. Bhagava Kusalyanam Nivasati. But it's also used, nivasa, in the sense of previous lives. Your Pubbe Nivasa is your prior dwellings, meaning your prior lives. But here in this verse, it simply means living or dwelling in the ordinary sense. So the idea of living in a convenient or a conducive location. Desa means a region or a country. In Sanskrit, it is desha, and as we know in the modern languages of northern India, the final ah is not pronounced. So in Sanskrit, Bangladesha, which when I say Bangladesh, it's that same desh, Bangladesh, the country of the Bengalis. So it is that same word, desa in Pali, desha in Sanskrit, desh in modern Bengali and Hindi. So Patirupa, rupa, we all know means form. We have nama rupa, in fact, can be translated as mind and matter, literally name and form, nama, and also mentality, materiality. So rupa is in the philosophical sense or the psychological sense, it's any kind of form, but it includes something that you can taste or smell or hear is also rupa. The original meaning appeared to mean solid matter, but then in psychological terms, nama rupa, anything that is based on, like seeing and hearing, are parts of rupa. But here, so pati rupa, here it's back to its more basic meaning, like pati meaning counterform, something that's conducive to you, something that is whose form feels right. So pati rupa then just comes to mean suitable, of a form that is suitable for you. So dwelling in a region, or here can be quite a narrow, even just the place where you dwell, dwelling in a conducive place. Patirupa desavasocha, pubbecha katapunyata. Pubbe, in Sanskrit, that is purve, in the past. Kata punyata. Kata is the past participle in Sanskrit. Krita in Pali kata just means done. Punya is the word that's sometimes loosely translated as merit. So kata punyata is the situation, the status of having done merit. You're being in a state whereby or in which you can look back and see that you have done punya in the past. So there's a little bit more to be explored in this line. We'll wind up now because it's just gone one. But so next time round, then we'll come back and we'll deal with the analysis of this in a little bit more detail. So there we are. We'll wind up this session now, and I will see hopefully some of you for the Sanskrit at 1:45, and the rest of you next week then. Let me just, oops. Okay, thanks very much then. Thanks.
Thanks, James.
See you.
Thank you,
See you.
sir. Thank you.
Bye then. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Oops, trying to